Well, Reggie Langhorne is here, as he always is, on Mondays to critique the Browns game. And, Reg, I've got some positives from this game. Again, those of us that were realistic and knew that this was, again, going to be a rebuilding year. It's not going to be a playoff year. But I thought the turning point in the game, momentum-wise, was when we had the 3rd and 1 with a 17-10 lead in that second quarter. And for whatever reason, they pulled Richardson, who had had such a fabulous first half. Reggie, I don't get it. The fans don't get it.
You try to understand what they may be thinking, and it makes no sense. First of all, he's the first and only pure #1 draft pick that we've gotten in the last 10 or 12 years that's ready to play right now. This guy is an absolute beast. And you got to find a way to give him the football. 3rd and 1, you've got the lead. You're playing away from home. And your best athlete is on the sideline. It doesn't make sense to me.
Even if you don't hand it to him, you play action.
Absolutely.
It gives the defense another thing to be uncertain about.
There's not another guy in the backfield that they're concerned about more than Trent Richardson. Why isn't he on the field? Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't get that. And if you do hand it, what are the odds that he's not going to pick up a yard? After that, the momentum of the game changed.
Did they stop him all day?
Yeah.
They just stopped giving him the ball. That means we're stopping ourselves. And I mean, you can't compete against teams like the Giants and make mistakes. Obviously, what happened yesterday was in a heavyweight fight, and when they got ahead, they didn't relax. They just made mistakes. And when you're in the position we are with all these rookies, you can't bounce back from those big major mistakes. They tried to fight in the end, but I got to be honest with you, we just don't have enough talented ball players to compete for 4 hours on a given Sunday with some of the best teams in the league. That's where we are. That is the proof, and that's what it is.
Before we hit the air, Reggie was telling me the difference between Gordon looking in the ball, you know, here's a great receiver, man, and Little.
Right. I noticed it yesterday. I was trying to make excuses maybe for the receivers coach because it seems as though they have poor concentration habits, which is something you work on the whole time you're a receiver. And Gordon catches a deep ball in the second quarter, I do believe, and it hits him dead in his hands. The stripe of his helmet is always on the ball from his eyes here to here. Now, a lot of guys will look up to catch the ball and do it here, and you see it go through. That's because they didn't follow it. It's the last 6 inches that are most important catching. And then in return, you got Little, who runs a slant route. He short arms the ball. Well, if he's looking at it, he knows he's short armed and he rides out. He's got his eyes here and the ball's coming here. You don't look it in, you can't be successful. It makes me a little weary that Little might have more concern of what's going on around him than, listen, you're a receiver. Your job is to, first of all, catch the football. So nothing else matters. So, yeah, you're going to get hit. The best thing to do is just suck it up, know you're going in there, and run slants route. You're as big as you are. You got to have more heart and go get the ball. I'm not saying he's not courageous, but what he's shown us is that traffic makes him a little bit weary.
A little gun shy of getting hit, perhaps, a man his size.
We talked about this also. You know, the size of a guy has nothing to do with the heart of a guy. And, you know, the main thing that a guy and a young guy like him who's dropped the ball, you got to go in there and catch one. Take the shot. You catch one, you feel better about it. I always used to tell people, and you know, they always say we were pretty tough as a receiving corps. Well, if I got hit and got knocked out of the game, they'd send a little ambulance out there, they'd take you to the hospital. It's 3rd and 4, you catch the first down, the next play, Webster scores a touchdown. You go to the hospital, they give you all the smelling salts, people bring flowers, and nice looking girls come by. Everything's great, but they call you a hero and tough. If you show alligator arms and they boo you, you're a coward. Which one do you want? You want the hospital with the nice girls, or do you want to be called a coward? I chose the hospital and the nice girls.
It's a no-brainer. No-brainer.
Okay.
Unless McCoy, and nothing against Colt McCoy, but unless he gets momentum throwing like an Olympian will throw a javelin, he doesn't make that throw that Whedon made.
No, he's not going to get it. That's going to be underthrown unless he steps into it like a shot put. But Whedon can sit back there and throw it. I like what he's doing. Obviously, the double pass, I think that rule was in place in high school, so he should know a bit, but he gets panicky. He's still young as far as the NFL is concerned. But there's some things that they've got to address, and making mistakes is the main thing. But I think Whedon is going to be fine. He does throw a nice ball.
You're seeing progress with him.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I put it like this. He stands tall in the pocket. His line did a great job yesterday. They're creating opportunities for Richardson. I like what Joe and Schwartz did on the tackles, being able to handle Pierre-Paul.
Yeah, Schwartz held their own.
You didn't hear their names yesterday, which is a great thing. So I think what they're doing is getting some guys working in the right direction, but not everybody. And one thing about this, you get 60 plays, and that means if 50 of your plays, somebody's making mistakes, that's not good. You got to get it to where you can minimize. We call them circle M's. That's mental mistakes, and that's not what you need to be successful.
Are you sold on these guards? We had a couple callers last night that questioned them.
Well, line working together takes time.
I mean, Schwartz is showing progress.
Right.
We know about Thomas. Mack is establishing himself now as being very solid. But I think the book has always been out on Laval, especially missing that whole year because of the injury.
Right, and that's going to happen. And until Richardson starts making more runs, getting more opportunities, because you can put an average back there, and they'll look average. But you can put a back like Richardson behind a mediocre line, a la Barry Sanders. He can create opportunities and make the line look better. They get confidence, and it coincides for a better offensive play structure.
On the defensive side, even though we look at our defensive front and we figure to have Taylor back in a few weeks, that's still too many rushing yards we're giving up.
You know, we did this the first week, defense played great. Next week, offense played great.
Yeah.
Then we couldn't get anything going. And then Cincinnati, now we're in a situation where we're weak on the line too. We're not as good as we think we are. And everybody exploits us at some given point. Either the offensive line gets exploited, the defensive line. Again, you've got to get all these guys on the same page. And it goes back to the coaching and also the scouting department. We've got to get more athletes. We don't have to get 10 more Trent Richardsons with that kind of mentality, with that kind of athletic ability. But what we do have to do is get some guys that can play up to speed, such as he does. We need 3 or 4 more on defense. We need a couple of guys in the secondary to step up.
Absolutely.
A linebacker that can step up. We need to make sure we get a couple of receivers. Those are places and key places. You watch all the other good teams in the league. They got ballers. And I talked about Victor Cruz from New York. You know, no one heard of this guy 3 years ago. He was on the practice squad. He lights it up last year, you know, goes to the Pro Bowl, and here he is again, 5'9", 5'10". So that thing about size has no burn. You watch Victor Cruz cross the ball, and you watch his eyes. He doesn't drop a many. Yeah. That's for sure.
They were picking on Screen, Sheldon Brown's best days.
I mean, wouldn't you? Are you kidding me? This is what I can see sitting in the offensive room on a Wednesday or Thursday, and Brandon going, "You see that? You see that?
Yeah.
When I look at you and do this, I'm coming to you. Don't even worry about nothing else. The play is off. We're slinging. You got this guy on you, man-to-man coverage, bump and run. So I mean, they're not.
Well, we get Hayden back for this next game. That'll help. I mean, we get Hayden back.
I heard some folks talking about, you know, and maybe I'm wrong for saying this, but somebody said we should boo him when he comes back. I'm like, wait a minute, why create more mess?
Why would you do that?
Someone said that to me. I'm like, well, why would you do that? Because he didn't perform in the 4 games in which he was needed so much, especially the first 2, so he had a bad taste in the blood. I said, you know what, Cleveland fans, let's get him back in here. Let's try to put something together and go forward. But someone mentioned that to me, and I was like, no, I wouldn't do that.
I can understand booing, not Hayden.
What's going to happen if Little puts another one on the ground?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that is a head thing for a young ball player, and the last thing he wants to do, because he is pretty much not liked in Cleveland. So the only way he can do this is to play football, and I mean really concentrate on the core things, and that's running a good route, not missing adjustments, and catching the football. I don't even care if the yards have to catch now. Just catch it.
Cribbs had a good game. Again, he's playing
fighter.
Tough, man. He's getting the ball with that new rule on the kickoffs. Right. He's still taking it 2-3 yards away from the end line and bringing it out and getting it past the 20.
That's what you call an old pro.
Yeah.
He goes about his business every Sunday.
And they got the book on him now, too. Yeah. After that first phenomenal year, the book, the word was out. But he's still, I mean, he's a real gamer. I know this is ridiculously premature. So, obviously, I'll cut you slack as we progress through this season. But I've already started speculating as I look at this offense, if the Browns can take, if the scouting department, and that's a whole another topic, but if they are absolutely convinced that the top receiver that's going to be available in this draft is going to be a star, and then you add a veteran wide receiver, all of a sudden, if those guards are okay, all of a sudden this offense becomes a whole different ballgame.
And it makes it much better for everyone involved. Because you've got to have the 2 receivers, you got to have a tight end, and we're not getting a lot of work out of Ben Watson. We're not getting a lot of work out of some of the tight ends that I would like to see. So they're not spreading it around enough to be able to make plays. So somehow we got to get Wheaton, which he's good at. 15, 20 yards, dig routes, comebacks, and the quick fade routes. We give him an opportunity with more talent around him. I think we'll be fine.
So right now, of course, you're prejudiced too. I'm offensively oriented. I always have been, and obviously you are. So, but right now you're tending to think that way.
Yes, and I think because scoring points in this league, one thing you got to do. Even the great defenses.
If you kick field goals, you're not going to win.
Right.
No matter how good the defense is.
Now with those 5 or 6 quarterbacks that are in the top rankings, they're going to score 24 points every week. And if you can't get 17 or 20, you're in trouble.
One final question before we wrap things up with you. Haslam made the statement last week that no drastic changes will occur until the end of the year. Are you buying into that?
I don't know what Mr. Haslam thinking. I do know this, that if there isn't more structure and less penalties, mistakes, and fundamental screw-ups on Sundays, it could happen at any time. Because it's going to go...
He gets the keys after this next game, you know.
Right. The coach has to display basic fundamentals to his team. We can lose, but we ain't going to lose beating ourselves all day, not being good enough. And if those guys aren't disciplined enough to catch the football, to not make penalties, to turn the ball over, then that's something that goes up top. It's on the athlete. No one's telling the guys to fumble or you should drop balls. But if there's not another guy that's better and you're in charge of getting the scouting and putting players on the field, somebody's got to be addressed.
And Cincinnati, the next opponent, is beatable. And if we're winless after this game, and then Haslam gets the keys, the next game after that is Indianapolis with a rookie quarterback. As highly touted as Luck is, he's still a rookie quarterback. If that's a loss, Reg.
And they just beat Green Bay. So they got a little feeling, and then since he just lost to Atlanta, so they're coming in here ticked off. So it's going to be interesting in the next 2 weeks to see how things progress on the field, how those young guys start to gel. I was a rookie one time, and I caught one pass my first year, and then no one even knew who I was. I played only on special teams. And then my second year, Lindy Infante came here, and all of a sudden I went from a blocking young 21-year-old wide receiver to now in an offense that suited me, along with Webster and Ozzie and Brennan, and then things coincided. So there could be a point of this season that they may pull the reins and say, let them go. Just let these young guys play. Let's see what they got. And maybe he's just too afraid to put them in winning situations because they're so young. And you got guys like Ed Reed. You got big-time corners and safeties playing against these 21, 22-year-old kids. It is a different beast.
Sure.
And they weren't big stars where they have, NCAA championships and played in the big games like Alabama. They just played at nice universities with a basic coach who was a good coach. But now they're playing against the elite. Remember, this is professional sports. I wouldn't get in the ring with, one of the gold medal winner in boxing. So these kids are pretty much stepping off the bus and been facing some of the all-pro defensive backs.
And what's he got to lose? His job might be on the line.
I tell you what, I wouldn't want to rush Richardson for 35 times a game at 0-16 season because I don't want to beat him up. But if my job's on the line, give him the rock. Give him the rock. Yeah, if that's my horse, I'm going to ride him to the finish line.
That's why we've got our man on every single week here at All Bets Are Off, concluding on Mondays. Reggie Langhorne, as always, my friend, thank you very much. We will be back next week with Reggie, and of course...